Now, from the war-torn streets of Ukraine to the parched landscapes of Africa, humanity is facing an unprecedented crisis. 1 in 10 people live in extreme poverty, many of them here in Nigeria, struggling to survive on less than $2 a day. Millions have been forcibly displaced, fleeing conflict, persecution, or climate disaster, and many more lack access to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Millions of children are out of school, denied the chance to learn and thrive. 1 in 3 women experience violence in their lifetime, and millions are trapped in modern-day slavery, forced to toil in bondage. The human crisis is a ticking time bomb in Nigeria and many parts of the world, one that threatens national and global stability, peace, and prosperity. But amidst that darkness, non-partisan NGOs like ActionAid have tried to bring hope, to demand change, and to work to create a world where every human being can live with dignity, equality, and freedom. So, after 25 years of operation in Nigeria, trying to achieve social justice and poverty eradication, how far has this vision been realized? How much does Nigeria, and indeed Africa and many parts of the world, remain on the brink? Well, for more on this, I'm suitably delighted to say that I'm joined now in the studio by the Secretary General of ActionAid International, Arthur Larok. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
It's my honor. Thank you very much.
And welcome to Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
It's your first time here,
Absolutely.
Isn't it? Right. Well, you came to the right city. I mean, Abuja is a fairly well laid out city.
Yeah.
So you don't have to stress too much about the anxieties you might have had coming here.
Yeah, true.
But let's start by situating Africa in the broader context of global conflicts, particularly in Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, and also the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is rather closer to you in Uganda, where you originally come from. How do you assess these conflicts and their implications for the African continent?
So thank you very much for having me. ActionAid is an international organization that is rooted in many countries, including Nigeria, but also globally connected in 47 countries around the world, majority of them in Africa. Then Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Now, the world is going through unprecedented challenges. And like you mentioned, raging conflict, crisis all over. And the place of Africa is an interesting question you pose. First, Africa is a continent that is really, really blessed by nature, by resources, by people who really want to make a difference in their lives and could potentially make a huge difference in the world. But we are dogged, like many other parts of the world, with preventable conflicts. I think the problem we have in the world is a collapsing system. A system that is collapsing under its own weight, a system that for a long time has served very few. And therefore, the pressure of the world is testing this system in such a way that for it to continue, it needs to destroy. So whether we talk about conflict induced by political struggle or climate or all manners of geopolitical crises and competitions on the continent, I believe it's a reflection of a system in the world that must be replaced. A system that is colonial, a system that is racist, a system that is extractive, and a system that is patriarchal. This is what we need to overcome so that the world is a better place. You spoke about Ukraine, you spoke about Sudan, you spoke about
the DRC.
Yeah, the DRC.
Gaza.
Yeah, Gaza. All these conflicts are not so much about the people there. It's a lot more about interests outside those countries. I think a lot of the conflicts in Africa are really driven by resource extraction objectives, by a colonial extractive system. That is the primary problem. So while Africans seem to be at the forefront of these problems, at the forefront of fighting each other, I think the geopolitical causes of this is where we should put our attention to. And I believe a continent like Africa does have a very crucial role to play now and in the future, only if we can unite as a continent. This has been one of the biggest challenges we have had as a continent, that country by country, we cannot shape or change the global system. So Africa's
They're too
unity,
weak, basically, on their own.
But
collectively, they've got a bigger voice.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And of course, these conflicts that you talk about have unleashed an almost unimaginable humanitarian crisis in Africa and across the world. How does that challenge ActionAid and the transformative vision it has for the world?
So ActionAid as an organization focuses a lot, Charles, on the underlying drivers of, let's say, conflict or underlying drivers of poverty and inequality. And we talk a lot about the injustice that this system, metes on people. So the implication of all of these tragedies is that ActionAid and organizations like ours really need to double its efforts. And we need to understand the kinds of people, the kinds of system, the kinds of populations that benefit from crisis. I firmly believe that when you unpack any crisis, you will find absolutely people who benefit from it. When we talk about wars, when we talk about arms race, it's not that some people just wake up and feel like killing each other. They are true benefactors of war, including on our continent. They are collaborators that we need to really unpack. Now, what does this mean for an organization like ActionAid? One, like I mentioned, we of course need to respond to the immediate needs of people. And ActionAid comes from a long history of needs-based response, rights-based response, justice-based. We have tested all these approaches, but cardinal to solving the underlying problems that really make the world appear the way they are, we must change the underlying system. So of people who truly benefit from war, who benefit from conflict in each and I come from a country that has been ravaged by conflict for a long time. But if you think about really who are the drivers, who are the what happens during war? Catastrophically, we see the lives of people are affected, livelihoods are affected, but we don't ask the question, who gains from this problem actually? So who gains from Ukraine, who gains from Palestine, who gains from Sudan? This is the question we need to ask, in addition to all of the needs-based responses we have.
But I mean, are you able to, because I mean, part of what you've said today is the things that, I mean, that there is clearly a strong vision that ActionAid has, and it tries to actualize that vision. I mean, are you able to reimagine sort of global cooperation in the face of all these debilitating conflicts and the human suffering that they have wrought? Because it just seems that will, I mean, there's so much of that suffering that it completely dominates anything else that you're able to do. And you're always, dragged down by that reality.
So it's very important, Charles. I always argue that it's important for the world community to look at itself as a human body. A human body has a central nervous system. And a central nervous system, the way it works in the body, is that when your toe has a problem, your mind is alerted to it. When there is a problem on your finger, your hand, the other hand is impacted. On your knees, the stomach will know. I think that we need to build, in place of this system that benefits a few, we need to build a central nervous system in the world for us to feel each other's pains. Just before I came to the studio, I was listening to the news about what's happening in Nigeria, the abductions and all of this. Someone in Tanzania, someone in the UK must listen and watch this story and feel the pain of the parents of those children. We must feel the pain of the people of South Sudan. We must feel the pain of the people in Haiti. That's when we can mobilize a global community for a just peace, a people's peace.
But in order to do that,
Yeah.
don't you need to have solved, you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Of needs.
I mean, don't you need to have solved your own? I mean, surely you don't expect the people in who are ravaged by poverty, can hardly find a square meal a day. They'll be driven by that reality. You see what I mean? And when you've got a huge number of people who are living under the poverty line, it's very difficult for them to imagine something else beyond that. But lest we run out of time, let me bring this down, because you mentioned Nigeria there. ActionAid has been in this country now for 25 years, and that's one of the reasons you're in the country, to mark that quarter of a century here. What has been the operating context for ActionAid in Nigeria since it began working here? I think it was 2000, the year 2000. I mean, coinciding with this country's return to democratic rule.
So I was very fortunate to meet our country director who started the Nigeria program, OTIVE, today, earlier before I came here. And of course, like you rightly said, Nigeria had gone through an important transition, and we have documented this story of ActionAid's evolution. And so, the country was opened up, there was opportunity, the transition from military dictatorship, and the agency of people was clearly something that needed a lot more investment. So it was in this context that ActionAid felt, we can make a contribution. ActionAid has been around the world. We were established in 1972, so much older around the world than we were in Nigeria. And we've made a modest contribution. I believe that in the communities where we work, most deprived communities around Nigeria, we've made a difference in the lives of women, children, and all the like. But it's not enough, because no country can get transformed only by NGO interventions. We need to have a public sector that works. So when you were interviewing your previous guest about the insecurity in the country, the system is failing. The public must be fixed. So we do both community interventions as well as advocacy for reform. Well,
let me pick you up on the advocacy bit, because that's critical. You were talking about, and talking very impressively about the kinds of things that concern ActionAid. It's not just about handing out sort of food to the poor. It's also looking at the system that has allowed those people to become poor or deprived or lacking in freedom and all the rest of it. How much do you think the rules of democracy have been obeyed in this country in that time? Because you came in at the sort of return to democracy, because for many Nigerians, those rules have been thrashed. And I wonder whether in that context, the vision of ActionAid of a just, equitable world in which every person enjoys the right of life, to a life of dignity, freedom from poverty, all forms of oppression, has also been thrashed. In other words, is that ActionAid vision more difficult today than it was 25 years ago in terms of realizing it?
I think
in Nigeria.
Definitely. I think the world has gone through lots of dramatic changes. And the crisis of democracy that we see in Nigeria and the rest of the world is something that we should pay attention to. The uprisings of young people all over the world is basically a testament to the failure of liberal democracy, failure of elections in many ways. So I think we have given too much hope also in the type of democracy that we have embraced, that really sometimes boils down to elections after every 5 years. I think democracy
or 4 years in Nigeria.
4 years in the case of Nigeria. Democracy is much more than that, and I think people realize that elections after every 4 years is not sufficient. So what happens in between elections also should be part of the democracy discourse. But this is not just a Nigeria problem. It is all over the world. And that's why we need to reimagine democracy itself, make sure that the true dividends that we talk democracy should deliver should actually deliver. And this is where advocacy and never giving up on the agency of people, no matter what happens in the world, whether it's conflict, crisis, climate, the agency of people is something we must continue to invest in, formally through education, but also informally through civic education. This is so important because nothing is going to help us overcome the challenges within the might and power of people.
Well, we're running out of time. We've got about 3 minutes or so left. Very interesting conversation, by the way. But I wonder if, in the context of your 25 years in this country, ActionAid can demonstrate any significant, measurable impact that it has had in Nigeria.
So ActionAid truly believes in investment in people. Okay, all through our history, of course, we can tell you stories of impact with regards to education for children, emancipation of women, supporting women, smallholder farmers. We are proudly associated with a cooperative here called SWAFON, entirely led by women with their agency, transforming their own lives and their own communities. The investment we have put in women's rights has had an amplifier effect beyond what we can measure, because the changes that come through interventions that we do are really felt at best by the stories that women communicate. So tomorrow, we will be launching a storybook of ActionAid and its evolution and its impact it has had with young people in education and with women farmers that we celebrate after these 25 years. Of course, we truly believe that we've made a difference, but not sufficient. The journey is ongoing, and we look to the next 25 years.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, looking at the next 25 years, how will you address emerging challenges? We
are a learning organization, first and foremost, so the last 25 years have given us immense lessons. A couple of them we talked about during the break. We've had for a long time, as development organizations, a linear understanding of how change happens. Do advocacy with government, and then government will fix this law, and then this will change. Development just doesn't happen like that. It happens when true power resides in the hands of people, including those people you have categorized as oppressed, living in poverty. They do have agency. The environment needs to be created for them to unleash that power, individually and collectively. So building collectives of people will overcome all of the challenges we have and connect that with, of course, global solidarity. I like to say, this is important for ActionAid, that the currency we trade in as an organization is a solidarity currency, that we care about people all over the world. People in the UK care about people in Nigeria, just like Nigerians care about Senegalese. So our program here in Nigeria is also one that is an anchor for a lot of the work we do in the region, because Nigerians and Action Nigeria cares beyond their country.
Well, thank you for the work that you've done in this country in 25 years, and we look forward to you doing a lot more in this country in the next 25. And how long are you in Nigeria for?
I'm around for this week, and I will definitely come back, because this week is not enough.
Indeed.
Thank you.
We'll be happy to welcome you back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Arthur Larok is the Secretary General of ActionAid International. He's visiting Nigeria to help mark 25 years of the NGO operating in this country. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and Mina in Niger State, bye-bye and thank you for watching.